best change we made was actually adding that portable heater in. Now that portable heater does come with a cost. Hi everyone, it's Keith from Home Right. Today it is June 8th, and I wanted to give you a quick update on how our hobby greenhouse made out for us. I built this greenhouse back in October, and I've got a video about the build, some of the modifications we did, and I'll put that link down below in the description box. But I thought I'd just give you a little quick review on what we used that greenhouse for this past winter, modifications that I think still need to get tweaked a little bit, and how things held up overall. Now, while the greenhouse is empty right now, let me tell you what we used it for over the course of this winter season. In November, we ended up putting in there a lot of our cuttings that I had done. We had our citrus cuttings in there, our hibiscus, butterfly bushes, all the small plants that we were just trying to get them to grow a little bit more. That's what took up probably about half of that greenhouse. Now, the other half of that greenhouse we used to put some grow bags in. We did some winter potatoes with it. Didn't have a whole lot of success, but we did get some potatoes with it. And we did try to bring in there and overwinter some pepper plant and an eggplant. Both of those I didn't have a whole lot of success with, but that was probably my fault that I just brought them in a little bit too late. Now, as the season moved on, we ended up using this for some of our seedlings that we had started indoors. So around February, we slowly started to bring in some of our pepper plants, and then toward the end of February, early March, we started bringing in some of our tomato seedlings and some of our other seedlings just to get them to harden off and to grow a little bit more in here. Now, once all those seedlings were done, it was probably about the end of April, and by that time, this greenhouse was starting to get way too hot. Even with the doors open and the fans blowing, it was getting to be about 105 degrees. So at that point, we decided to clear it out and to clean it up, and just, we're gonna now, it's probably just gonna sit here empty until about next October. Maybe not that late, but I think it's just gonna be too hot to use for anything else. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of modifications that we had to do this year to it, but we did make a couple of changes. One, you're seeing me do this right now. At this time of the year, it would just be way too hot to keep this door closed. So what I'm thinking about doing is making myself a screen door to just fit onto these hinges and take this polycarbonate panel door off in the spring and summertime. But for now, all I'm using is these clips with deer netting, and that's really just to keep maybe the birds out and some other, even the dogs out at this time of the year. There's really only one modification that we had to make this year, and that was to our thermostat that we have here. The previous thermostat that I had ended up only lasting about 3 weeks or so and then broke on me. But the one that I bought here, and I'll put that down in the description below, I really do like, because not only is the temperature set for me to have this thing go on for heat, but as you can see down here, I have it both set at heating and cooling. So we keep our greenhouse at 65 degrees here, and especially in the springtime, this would get quite warm. And I needed more than these solar fans could give as far as some airflow. So I've got a big box fan. I set that up right over here by the door, would leave the door open. And so if the temperature got above 65, that box fan would start blowing the air, which was great for our seedlings to help harden them off and strengthen the stems. So these are some additional modifications that we're probably going to do over the summer for next winter. One being, I'm probably going to put a screen, somehow build a screen in here just to try to keep some of the bugs out. It might not keep them all out, but hopefully I can reduce some of the gnats and the flies that are coming in here. The aphids, that was a self-inflicted wound that I did myself by bringing in a plant that had them on that. That's so lesson learned. Now I know to check and to make sure if I need to spray them, leave them outside for a couple days before I bring them in here into the greenhouse. Now, one thing we found that we liked in here was we ended up using those 5-shelf stackable shelvings and that you can buy at the box stores, and we would just put 1 or 2 of those up in here, and that worked real well because they were only about 18 inches deep, and then when you stack 2 of them up, you'd only get up to about 3 feet. The stackable shelving was great because I could rotate things around, I could move it around, and when it came time for cleanup, those stackable shelves went out into the garage, and now Lori can use those to dry the onions on at this time of the year. So it's always got a multi-purpose. So we'll definitely stick with those adjustable stacking shelves moving forward. Now in a perfect world, here's one thing that's driving me crazy and I still can't seem to always get it right. I wish this door was taller. I've ducked enough times, but I've created enough problems to the top of my head hitting it when I'm really not paying attention to what I'm doing. Because I'm 6'3". This is really great for Lori. She's only 5'3". Doesn't work for me all the time. Now Lori suggested I put a pool noodle on this to protect my head, but if you guys got any other suggestions, greatly take it. Now the one thing that I would suggest strongly is that for us, the best change we made was actually adding that portable heater in. Now that portable heater does come with a cost. It runs at about 20 to 25 cents an hour when we're using it. And so my electric bill in December and in January went up by about another $30. But that heater ended up helping us for controlling the humidity and keeping the temperature that we wanted it to be at. Before the heater, that humidity would get up right to 100% instantly. And as much as this greenhouse, the first thought people have is, oh, it'll keep things warm. As soon as the sun goes down, that indoor temperature of that greenhouse will be the same as it is outside here. So you definitely, I would highly recommend either space heater or using some alternative forms, whether it's putting water in the barrels or whatever it is, in order to increase your temperature inside your greenhouse. So as far as the modifications are also concerned, that we definitely can say I would recommend. This temperature gauge was great because there was a moment when I ended up, the switch that you see down there broke, and all of a sudden this greenhouse was sitting at 36 degrees when I checked inside. So a thermostat that was in here that I could read inside kind of gave me a warning that something wasn't right in here. So I'd highly recommend a thermostat that is connected somehow indoors or where you can check it on a regular basis. What I like about this panel is it comes with 3 thermostats showing us both temperature and humidity levels for the locations they're at. So like this top one here is in the Veikous Greenhouse. This second one is our out sunny greenhouse, and this is just outdoors on our front porch. The bottom one is set for what the current temperature is indoors, but I have this set right near a sunny window, so that's why it's reading 81. It's really only about 76, 77 in here right now. This automated window vent here has also been great because if this wasn't opening up or I didn't come out here and do this manually, which I did not feel like doing every day, this would just get way too hot in here even in December or January, because as soon as that sun comes up, it was nothing for this room to be 85 degrees without the heater on whatsoever. If you keep this thing closed and you don't have the fans blowing, it will get way too hot in here too quick. Another thing that we did once the greenhouse was empty was it was a good time to give it a good cleaning. Now, in cleaning this, it held up pretty good. Surprisingly, we had very little water that was coming into our greenhouse. It really only came in at the front door there, and that was fine, but I had no water penetration coming through on these side seams from the caulking that we did. But I did notice that after I did clean it up real good, some of this caulking is cracked. So it's a little too hot right now, but once we get into probably September, I'm just going to go around and give this one more coat with caulking of the silicone caulking onto it. The door here, this window, this held up real good, but when we had the high winds, you'll see that this window kind of can slide a little bit left and right. So you just got to kind of double check that every once in a while after a strong wind. And then that way you can make sure you don't get any water penetration there. Now other than that, you're going to get this. You see these little lines in here. As best as I did to try to caulk all that, that's water that got right into those little channels and tubes. I have seen online where people, before they even install these panels, will have some weatherproof taping, and they'll just run that tape right along that edge on both sides and then set their panels in place. It's not awful, but just be aware that you can get that. Now, the only place I had mold and mildew is on the inside, and I'll show you that. Now I've since cleaned it out, But all these tracks down in here really would be great if it had maybe a small little drill hole to kind of create like a weep hole here, because if you're watering plants, this is where the water would end up building up and forming. It wasn't awful. And then also, without the heater, when we first didn't have the heater in the first week or so with this greenhouse, the humidity was crazy in here, and these inside panels were just getting soaking wet, and that water was doing nothing but coming down here and just forming a puddle. So I might get a small drill bit and just drill a couple of small holes, weep holes, right at the edge down here to maybe allow for some drainage. It wasn't bad. All I needed to do was really just get some soap and water and get in here and clean it up. So all in all, not too bad. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you got any questions or suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below, and we'll see you on the next video.